Peace on Earth. Ethan Indigo Smith here. The Philosopher Stoned, where we discuss the esoteric and the exoteric of all subjects related to metaphysical and political. We'll leave no stone unturned. The divine feminine and the oldest profession idea. A lot of people think that this idea comes out of ancient mythos. It actually is a very recent phrase, and it's insidiously kind of corrupted the mind of culture. Right? This is one of those phrases that's very very basic and insulting. Uh, the world's oldest profession is prostitution. Well, let's just break it down. Actually, let's start out with where it comes from. Rudyard Kipling is the author of the book On the City Wall. And in the first sentence of his book, he breaks down that La Lune is the practices the oldest profession in the world. She is Lilith was her grandmama, and Eve, this was before Eve, and he gets into a very cryptic and kind of halfway funny and a very cryptic and insulting way about the character who's a courtesan practicing the oldest profession. All right, but let's break it down in the simple basic why that's wrong. In the simple basic, no one starts a profession without others having had a profession. Like, who's paying the prostitutes? Well, so there were other professions, but actually it gets deep because really, more specifically, the male prostitutes of war rather than the female prostitutes of sex, those were the ones that were predominantly paying the prostitutes. So who's the real prostitute there? Being an order follower for the state, or what is called the oldest profession. So there were other professions that were paying and offering money in trade. Real simple. In the exoteric sense, though, what is the oldest profession beyond that? Well, I've had some primal people tell me that hunter, hunter's the oldest profession. False, because there's no way for anyone to learn hunting without a nurse at home. You cannot take on a bear without knowing that you will be taken care of, right? So, nursing is actually the oldest profession in that sense before hunters. And even in the same double entendre or meaning of this word, multiple meanings of this word, there is one who nurses wounds and one who nurses babies, right? This is the same attribute or attributes of the divine feminine is offering this level of care. Um, so first came this nurse, and next came the nurse that would heal you, right? And this is the same divine feminine, which is the exact opposite of what this phrase, this insidious phrase, tries to infer. That the oldest profession is a prostitute? No, no. The oldest profession is, in fact, nursing, right? Because there's no way that one could get taken care of without the nurse. So going deeper than that, what represents the divine feminine is the caring attributes of the mother nurse and the healer nurse. And so the very opposite is true. Not only is it false that the oldest profession is uh, such a disgusting insult, it's actually the opposite. So the divine feminine we can see is actually represented by marijuana and is just as prohibited. And just around the same time that allopathic medicine started to make its kind of popularity in the world, this storyline, this phraseology did too. It first started in the United States and then kind of became an idea that is a cultural phenomenon around the world that the oldest profession is prostitution. False. False. So marijuana represents the divine feminine because marijuana provides healing, medicinal, nutritional, food, and now, of course, we could use it for shelter, for all kinds of resources. So, marijuana, just like the divine feminine, offers that much level of care, right? And we can see, I like to use the word marijuana because of the MA. And the MA, of course, really is synonymous or the tone of the divine feminine. And I'll show, I'll just talk about two different cultures that display this tone. Um, not one alludes to certainly the divine feminine, not necessarily marijuana itself. Mat in the ancient Egypt is one of the feminine representations, the divine feminine representation, and of course she has the Ma. Um, we can find Mary in Christianity separately many different times, and many different other religions and spiritual belief systems. We find Ma. But the second one I want to share more particularly is from ancient China. In ancient China, the very embodiment of divine feminine is the goddess Ma, and she is the goddess of hemp and healing. So, in ancient China and ancient Egypt, we have the Ma tone being representative of the divine feminine. And what is the divine feminine? It's the oldest profession. Not what they try to tell you it is, right? So, this leads to another idea. Marijuana makes you think sometimes differently, marijuana makes you question. So don't assume when you hear something that it's true just because a lot of people have assumed it to be true before you and repeat it as well. Most people are repeaters, so don't be a repeater, right? Question what you hear, especially something as base as that. So, for more on marijuana and the divine feminine, check out my book, The Prohibition of Marijuana and the Divine Feminine. Appreciate the support.